Truly. What more is a journey but a series of steps taken with a predefined outcome either way? One of endless possibilities, yet still predefined. Your curiosity peaks as you know that most choose honor, glory, wealth, perhaps maybe humility or growth. But this journey, this morally ambiguous path, is one that you will have not seen nor will see repeated for the rest of time, as it is mine to show you. As although millions have emerged from the same prolegomenon, that is where the similarities perish an early death, and where only one truth remains. And how is it that within the blackened ocean, deep and dark as a moonless night, what may frighten some have fear themselves? A notion without proof, yet still the reaper lurks, waiting, starving. And I go by one name. My story begins like everyone else's, but better, because I have intentions before anyone else has even had a thought. Regardless of having a typical Canadian beach leech jammed in my eye like a dry contact lens that moves with teeth, my objective was clear. Go forwards and let whatever happens, happen.
The blood in your head thrums.
Whoa,
and
who's that?
pounds. That pounding blood obscures who you are. An overwhelming loss of memory. How you ended up amidst these hellish flames is just as hidden. You have nothing in your skull, besides your name and a headache. But you are in danger.
Well, that voice in my head would prove useful, I'm sure, so I cursed the name of that Squidward-looking sorry excuse for a flight attendant.
The torturer behind this cruel prank will meet your malice when you get out of here. Killing. Now that sounds like your first good idea.
Yes, I liked this voice. I would interact with it often.
This is the pool that thing came from. The parasite now writhing behind your eye.
So obviously, I immediately touched it without regard for my personal well-being. Huh, interesting. Well anyways, I entered the anus of the ship and proceeded to get lost, wandering around, wondering what else I could touch. And that's when I came across someone with their brain sticking out.
Yes, you've come to save us from this place. From this place, you'll free us.
Well, what do you want?
Remove us from this body.
And so I gently broke his skull and removed his brain.
The brain lifts from the skull. But you notice an opportunity. You could cripple the strange creature, making it more subservient, should it prove a threat.
However, not knowing whether this brain was capable of murder, I recalled a classic torture tactic. Jack be nimble, Jack be quick, jam your finger into the brain to remove its attack knowledge. And just like that, his brain, for possibly the first time, was capable of thinking, in the form of a pit bull or something.
Our freedom is ours.
So obviously I attacked him.
We are us. We must survive.
And I chased that brain dog, but unfortunately, due to humans not having the agility of a brain with 4 legs, I had to take the elevator during our chase and I lost the thing. My rage was untethered. And then I found out I was in England. But unbeknownst to me, one of the locals suddenly leapt over me in a well-choreographed sequence involving a dragon.
Abomination. This is your end.
My end? She threatened me like I didn't just cripple a brain dog without mercy?
Tingles. Visions rush past. A dragon's wing, a silver sword, and a flash of your face seen through the strange woman's eyes.
What is this? Blackith blesses me this day. Together, we might survive.
That's super ironic that you think that.
First, we exterminate the imps. Then we find the helm and take control of the ship.
Taking control of the ship was exactly what I needed, and although these imps rose up to attack, they failed to notice one thing. The only thing I'd eaten all day was that worm, and that was through my eye. And so we slaughtered these abominations and proceeded to loot them for edible parts. I touched some random hanging tentacles and then headed further up into the sphincter of the ship, until I found a computer.
Instinct. Touch nothing nothing without knowing its purpose.
And so I touched everything, knowing that was my purpose. It immediately killed 2 innocents. But the buttons were squishy, so I just kept pressing them. Then I touched some more tentacles and found someone trapped in a pod just as I was. Unfortunately for them, their computer was running DOS.
The console appears dormant.
So I hit it.
Nothing.
Nothing.
The console remains dormant.
Ah, well, I tried. However, Brain Dog was back and I was furious for no reason. One of my most dangerous states. We quite literally beat the cells out of these things and then looted them for tissues. And then I went back to laugh at the lady in the tube. I found my way through another sphincter where Lae'Zel over here cautioned me.
Nearing the helm. Once inside, do as I say.
And so I did it. I did, however, find a lady stuck in a pod.
Dazed woman is trapped inside the pod. She doesn't notice you.
And in my attempt to find a way to get her out, I did.
This might unlock those controls next to the pod.
So I proceeded to just leave her there and make my way out of the ship. I looted a random chest of goods and finally made my way to the helm of the ship. And there I finally saw it. Squidward locked in combat with some sort of local politicians. And although the beasts ate their brains, for some reason they found themselves starving. So they turned to us. But then the imps decided to third party this fight to pick off this guy before he could bring his squad back to a respawn point. Interestingly enough, this squid spoke to me as if I was in submission to it.
Connect the nerves of the transponder. We must escape. Now.
And so, not wanting to waste a minute more on this rust bucket while there were still people living below us, the fight raged on, yet I simply waltzed past everyone.
Hurry, before they strike.
Let the she-elf die, and then finally reach the ship's controls.
The helm's alien transponder. You've made it in time.
However, when I played with the Forbidden Lego, Skyrim showed up to light everything on fire. Regardless, the ship was already in teleport sequence and vanished into none other than the Aurora Borealis, but the anti-gravity one. And so once again, I grabbed the Venus fly squid and warped us right into, well, someone's backyard, I'm assuming. Everything was not going all right. I wasn't able to balance myself on the 90-degree angle the ship was turning itself into, and as I lay, waiting for the crash, I knew exactly what to say to her. You! When I woke up the next morning, I realized something was strange.
You half expected your memories to return once you were free of the Mind Flayer ship. But your past is still an aching void.
I found myself on what seemed to be a public beach in California, immediately coming across a body. With 2 gold, baby!
You drink in the pungent corpse. Since you awoke on the ship, your mind has been cold and empty, but something stirs. With your hands close to this body, you know nothing of why, but you find a half smile flittering across your face.
That grin, that wasn't even an option.
This feels like home. There is something unknown and unspeakable deep within your heart.
I started fishing for food, and by fishing, I meant stealing all the fish I could from the locals. Came across a boring love letter that had the name of a woman. That's all I needed. And then I came across a live woman.
They can't hold forever.
She was banging on a door with a mace, so I figured I'd invite this brute to be my next meat shield.
Stop! Not another step or I'll... Wait. It's you. I saw you on the ship.
Anger, confusion, resolve.
Ah! You. You've got the same thing I do. In your head.
Yes, it's called a brain.
I felt it. These things are going to consume us from the inside and turn us into mind flayers.
Okay, you're just a crazy lady.
We host their spawn, and once they're ready, they'll tear right through us. You and I need a healer.
Well, I could tell traveling with her would be like having a walking conspiracy theory, so I ditched her.
Likewise.
And then after trying to burst down the door with warlock magic, it didn't work. So I decided to head down the long road around the sand, trees, grass, giant alien spacecraft, the usual, and fought a bunch of brain dogs who survived my crash. And then I touched something weird.
Footprints.
After finding footprints, which meant victims, I found myself at some kind of interdimensional donut.
You approach the sigil on the stone. Magic glitters and swirls from it erratically, as if malfunctioning.
Well, I've touched everything so far, why stop now? But the bugger of a portal zapped me. It would surely pay for this crime against me. And lo and behold, it's hand.
A hand? Anyone?
Blood payment came sooner than expected, and I was already writing the check.
This branch of flesh is begging to be pruned, and its sap sucked from.
I couldn't agree more, Miss Voice in my head.
My mistress' eyelids, stop! Cease, you loon! Ah! Ah!
As soon as the dreams cross the threshold of your imagination, you snap back to realize they have all come true. Joy floods through you. You were dazed on the Nautiloid, but now you are truly awake. Alive.
Like a tragic drive-through experience, I was satisfied with my order. And with that, I headed further down the path, not long coming across literal sheep people. Sheeple.
Zoru was right. Yellow as a toad.
They were yelling at some weird, deranged creature in a cage. I'm assuming what sheeple eat, as I would.
And if it escapes, how will you... Oh, a guest.
Your skull pounds in response to the prisoner's white-hot stare.
I pondered shooting down the cage just to humor the situation, and I convinced myself of it, not to mention convincing these simple-minded buffoons to be the ones to release the creature, who, if nice, I would use as a pack mule on my quest.
Ready your blade.
You've but one chance. Join me or die.
Not nice, so tomorrow's lunch.
Coward!
After a short, easy fight, Lae'Zel was dead, and I had her things.
Finally, you did great. Now come, we have a blast to investigate.
But wait, tell me where you people live. I need healing.
Northwest. Look for Nettie. Whatever your wound, she can mend it.
Nettie sounded like a fine addition to my growing collection of names. But first, I serenaded the she-elf to christen her pathetic death. I assumed I was heading north, towards whatever I may find laying in the wake of this dead, forsaken landscape of a desert and moss. And of course, I came across a bundle of humans trying to get inside some kind of public dump.
Open the bloody gate!
Nobody gets in! Zevlor's orders!
That pack of goblins will be on us any second!
What's going on?
Goblins are on our tail! You let goblins here? Where is the druids?
They cried of goblins like a bunch of babies, so if I were to join this fight, I would certainly let them die. And sure enough, the goblins approached the humans to fight them. Not me, I was just observing. The sheeple panicked to open the door, but instead, the goblins just did my job for me. Everyone was freaking out. Chaos was everywhere, and I was in love with all of it. And then Zoro jumped in from nowhere and finally got to use a line that he's been rehearsing all day.
And suffer its sting.
And with that, a large fight broke out right in front of the main gate, since those pathetic weakling sheeple couldn't make the effort to open it. Every fiber of my being wanted to direct blows at the humans. However, I wanted to make my murderous intentions look like a bloody accident. Therefore, I took aim at all those that weren't the most efficient goblins. And Zoro was over there in his own little world, pretending like maybe he was worth something in this fight, but in the end, I let him keep fighting one singular goblin, just to make him feel like he was contributing. And finally, after all the humans were eviscerated, I finished off the final giant porcupine and concluded this fight in the only way possible. Or never mind, there was one guy left.
That was the last of them. Inside! All of you! More may follow! Open the gate!
After they got like 500 sheeple to open the gate, all the cowards ran inside while I took my dear sweet time looting all the beautiful carcasses on the battlefield. And then I discovered that this wasn't a city at all. It was a dump.
Aradin didn't make it. Pity. But he might have got more of my people killed, if not for you.
Sir, I am the only reason everyone outside is dead. Now pay me.
Then you'll have better luck looting the goblins outside. But we'll be slaughtered if we leave. We're no fighters.
Yes, that was made very clear.
If you'll excuse me, I'd best get my people moving.
Well, it sounded like these sheeple would definitely die sooner than later, so why not sooner? I started to devise a plan. So as I headed deeper into the travesty of what these idiots call a home, I finally came across a vendor.
Refugees, adventurers, no one in years, and suddenly we're overwhelmed. Just some bits and bobs I no longer need.
Bits and bobs? More like crap and garbage. This guy had one use in his pathetic life, and that was to buy my useless trash. But then I realized I could sell his useless trash too, if I had it. And so I plotted a plan. Unfortunately, these losers over here were standing around looking with their eyes. I meandered on over to them.
Hells, we can't just leave. They're kin.
Can we all just take a moment, please?
What's the point in blazing spells if we don't bloody use them? We should stay. These people aren't fighters.
Couldn't care less about what they were talking about, and then convinced them to abandon their homes, people, families, and run away in selfish adoration for only themselves.
Common sense at last. Let's get out of this death trap.
Let's sneak away like God's damned cowards.
And they agreed.
But if something happens to these people, it's on us. I hope you know that.
Excuse me, don't you dare take credit that doesn't belong to you. Regardless, this vendor was now oblivious and unwatched. And I went right for the pocketses, and more specifically, a nice pair of gloves I found most attractive. With this moron still staring at a rock, I slinked away up a nearby hill. However, they say that the hills have eyes, which meant witnesses. Therefore, there was only one way to deal with the situation. Stealth annihilating the vendor. I mean, it doesn't really deal with the whole witness situation, but at least I felt a bit better. And I looted him for what little this poor slob had and finally headed downtown. Unfortunately, crossing paths again with...
What are you doing here? Are you following me?
She hastily tucks away an ornate box.
Now I wanted that box whether I wanted it or not. And there was only one way to go about getting it. First, by degrading her importance to me.
Survival is the crux of it for now. But what you really need, what both of us need, is a healer.
Did you just assume my
needs?
needs?
Such luck in this place.
That's it. You're coming with me.
You look like a better choice than a band of helpless refugees. Call me Shadowheart.
Nope, not calling you that. You're petty princess. Let's go.
Lead the way.
And with that, I had acquired myself a live human companion to throw at enemies if I ever needed a breather. But of course, drama.
She's a thief, hellspawn. And you will wait for Korga's judgment. Now get back!
Oh, let me through, Mragrasham, or I'll rip your damn throat out!
The leaf people summoned a bear, which was hilarious because I like those on fire. Anyways, I marched to their sacred area, but these twig-wearing tree huggers stopped me.
Calm, Magrin. Give her a chance. You, get back!
Obviously, I ignored them, and then their dumb bear breathed on me.
Another step, and Magrin will tear you open like a sack of grain.
Honestly, I'd love to see that, just in general, but I was way too busy for the likes of these morsels.
Keep back!
A moment, Giona.
And like that, fate intervened, and some dude wearing the assassin's garb showed up to trust the strangers.
Apparently Korga wants to see you. Go ahead.
Of course he does. Everyone does. No one believes I'm real. And so I walked past a bunch of people ordering wine from a fancy restaurant and marched straight into the most sacred of chambers, the bathroom of this place, I'm assuming. And as I made my way in, I heard a Canadian crying out.
I'm sorry.
Oh, I could tell this was gonna be easy.
I'm sorry.
This is madness, Korga. She's just a
what, Wrath?
A child.
A thief?
A kid.
A poison?
A brat.
A threat?
A youngling.
And I will cast out every stranger.
A death viper. You've milked their poison before.
Yep, only milk I ever have with my cereal.
A single drop of it could kill that child in a heartbeat.
Now ain't that a fun fact of the day?
Wrath, lock her up. She remains here until the rite is complete.
Come, Korga. We took back the idol. Surely...
Do it.
Should the child struggle, it is poised to strike. The death of a child. A timeless tragedy that never grows old.
A tragedy, perhaps, but an activity, always. However, I got dust in my eyes, but the child for some reason took that as a signal to book it for the exit. And with that, the child decided that she had better chances with the snake than she would with the fallout I could bring to this hodung garbage city. Smart girl.
Yes. Tila, to me.
And like every perfectly executed plan, I managed to maintain a level of discretion as to pin the blame directly on someone else.
Gone. By the gods, Korga, what have you done?
I put on my oh no face real quick, and that fooled everyone.
Continue the right.
And the parents?
Yeah, I'll tell them.
They're just outside.
This outsider will take word once I've spoken to her.
Perfect. I've been practicing violin in my stand-up comedy get well soon jokes. This should be a hit with the folks around these parts. But first, I confronted the crazy lady to tell her I'm better than she is.
Monsters both, then. Viper to viper.
She threatened the hierarchy of me, so I reached for my weapon, but...
Keep talking. Nothing to be gained in picking a fight with a fanatic.
You know, Petty Princess was right. Her time would come soon enough.
Out of the grove. I'm sure they'll reward you well. They're to be gone before final prayer. If they are not, the Viper must strike.
But that leaves you tree huggers alive. That's not gonna do.
Then they soon know the sting of my venom.
Well, I had a choice to make, but obviously first I attempted to loot the kid for V-Bucks.
Keep your hands to yourself.
However, the crazy lady also wanted the loot, so I had to be patient. And with that, I found myself in the druid chambers. And there they were servicing some kind of winged rat.
The bird's eyes are glassy. Its breathing weak.
There was no time to waste. If I wanted to claim this kill, I needed to act fast.
Tearing, you play with the broken tissue. The wing is delicately airy.
I realized Red Bull does not give you wings, birds do.
You wonder what it would be like to fly as the birds do.
It's true, Mrs. Brain, I do.
Poor thing. She fought as hard as she could. It's the best any of us can do, I suppose.
Ma'am, I ripped her wings off with my bare hands.
What was it you needed?
Healing. But judging by your inability to mend that bird, I doubt you're it.
I do what I can. For most folks, that's enough. Come here. Let's have a look at you.
I don't like people looking at me unless they're about to become witnesses.
You seem healthy enough.
Yeah, something went in my eye.
Crawled in. Some sort of bug?
No, like a cat or something.
Wait, did it look like a tadpole? But from your worst nightmare?
Ma'am, you couldn't handle my worst nightmares.
I'll do what I can. Come, follow me.
I followed the clearly incapable lady into a large garage filled with more garbage.
You don't have to be here for this. No, I'll stay. I'd rather know exactly what you're up to.
Good. I want my companions to know exactly who I am. But the clocks were burning and I was done with the pleasantries.
First things first. Tell me, have you noticed anything unusual?
Yeah, I'm staring at her. Get with the drugs.
I'm trying to help you.
No, you're not. You're stalling.
To hell's with it.
What? You pull a thistle on me? Well, obviously I needed to defend myself. And to do that, I needed to attack first. And then the freak turned into like an aardvark or something embarrassing like that. Well, her terrible druid powers sucked so bad I was able to kill her right back to normal. I guess, in a way, I am the healer.
Could have been worse, I suppose. At least she didn't just attack.
Yeah, but she literally did. Well, I looted her for parchments of paper and a tiara, looted this dead guy on a table, and then proceeded to steal all their ancient knowledge that I would later sell to the highest bidder. The tiara ended up being a key to the doors, and with freshly murdering someone, I figured I'd just slip out the back. Of course, into a massive horde of goblins. Now, there was an attempt to sneak up on them, but apparently this princess was so noisy I could hardly hear my dark urge.
Did some bleeding arts show up to save the druid? I'll cut you to pieces.
Pieces. Now that had me thinking. Goblin chunks. Delicious or too gamey? I wasn't entirely sure, but I knew that if I cooked them just right, it could work. Yet like all good meals, these ones were fighting back. Pathetically, and to the same extent as the child fought the snake, but still fighting back. Finally, after cleaning up the mess of these goblins existing, we came across an injured goblin, but like, different or something.
He doesn't respond to your voice.
Well, when someone is this close to death, there's still a chance. I commanded Princess to heal the man, and through the miracle of whatever magic that was, he lived.
Oh, thank you, thank you. I thought I was gonna die down here.
Please, at the hands of anybody but me?
What? No!
Yes, actually. And so, whoever this was put up more of a fight than all those goblins combined. The best kinds of fight are the ones where they're fighting for the life I just gave them a chance to live for. But of course, never good enough. So I took his tiara and ditched this cave. I was sick of all this beating around the bush. Almost a day had passed since that ship crashed, and still no genocide.
You're gonna be sorry, every last one of you.
Well, whoever this was, her energy was exhausting and she needed to die. So I marched on in to witness a couple of cowards pretending to threaten the goblin.
You ain't gonna shoot me. Your hands are shaking.
So I kinda egged the guard on a bit to shoot the creature.
Doesn't even matter if you kill me. I'm chosen by the
Huh. But enough jokes. It was time to get a ball rolling here. But first things first, those parents deserve to know what happened before the war that I would create.
Unless you have news of Arabella, I don't want to hear it.
I told her that crazy lady killed her with her bare hands and then called her a parasite.
Korga did... What?
No!
Yup.
That snake!
You have no idea, lady. Oh yeah, let that out. Let that fuel you. You're gonna need that for later. So to ruin the druid morale, I ran back to their bathrooms and convinced this guy that he doesn't deserve mercy.
You may be right. We've let a snake replace our leader.
And insinuated violence at my earliest convenience.
This is how a terrible cycle begins. All is out of balance.
And with that, I marched over to the fighters' barracks to meet with the Sheeple's warriors.
Go on. Give me a best shot.
Weak! Boo!
Not bad.
You suck!
I can't do it. I'm not like you.
I don't need you to be like me. You just have to buy enough time to run.
Buy time to run? What, is that kid gonna be hanging back? He's doomed!
Ignore her, Umi. Go on now. The blade of frontiers at your...
The man's smile bends downward, and his thoughts become yours.
Hell's great fires. You were on the ship.
Guy, I was the pilot of that ship.
You see the fiend again and ignite with Will's rancor. She is an infernal war devil, a threat to the living.
Oh?
Evil incarnate.
You saw her. Advocatus Diaboli.
Advocatus Diaboli. A devil's advocate.
I don't kill her. She'll leave behind nothing but a trail of corpses.
With that thought, I asked the guy to join my club.
I like your thinking.
So I talked with another fight guy.
I saw you at the gates. You fight well.
Yeah, better than you lot.
A few words for the kids. Spare a story or two.
Hey kids, guess what? You're all gonna die. Yeah, just let that sink in.
Good job.
Thanks.
Little ears hear far.
So I talked to one of the punks.
You think we're not tough enough to defend ourselves? I've been training for days.
Shut up, nerd. Get back to making TikToks with that Gen B looking haircut. Well, I explored this garbage heap one last time before heading to have a little chat with the leader of the sheeple.
I've already heard. Arabella, 9 summers old. And now she'll never see another. Every natural law demands I take up my sword, storm their lair, but no. That's what Korga wants.
Yeah, but I'm not a you-looking fella, and I have no moral compass.
Do not be so sure. Korga won't spare you either.
Well, yeah, it's lame if they show mercy.
So long as Korga leads them, we'll never be safe here. If you're suggesting we remove her...
Wow, looks like your people gave you the clan brain today, huh?
A thought I might have dismissed before Arabella. We'd have to get close to Korga, within striking distance. I can't manage that, but they've already let you pass once.
Yes, and in that one time I killed a child, but I want money.
To see Korga pay, you'll get your coin.
Well, with the thought of coin brimming in my parasite-infested mind, I made haste to begin whatever would come next. I said hi to the first vendor and made my way to the second most popular vendors.
Oh, I don't have any money or anything to sell. My partner does that. I'm the guard, so don't steal anything. I'm watching you.
He proved to be a threat.
Hold out your hand, lady. Let me show you something.
It made me laugh, such pathetic magic.
Take this ring. It's lucky.
So I snatched the ring out of his frail
Call
hands.
it. Heads or tails?
And instead of playing his dumb games, I pocketed the thing.
Hey, hold on, you gotta pay for that.
Play stupid games, win stupid prizes, you punk.
Fine, keep it. Call it a sample, yeah? But you gotta at least look at the other rings, okay? I gotta eat.
Just eat grass, you sheep.
You'll be sorry about this, scab. Count on it.
Not as sorry as your parents will be for having you. And with that, I headed onwards to create a bit of drama myself. I gave the crazy lady one final chance, but...
Away. I have no more need of you.
Huh. I was gonna say the same thing. So I wandered back into her bedroom and positioned myself perfectly to barely see her through this pathetic window. And then, before she could even react, the fight had begun. All of the other tree huggers ran in terror of me, instantly targeting their boss. Smart, dumb people. As the crazy lady tried her darndest to aggravate assault upon me, our new fellowship of mindless zombies to my bidding fought for me, allowing the fight to actually have some meat to it. Her pathetic attempts to do things like live were done so in vain, and in the end, she failed at doing it miserably. Unfortunately, I took the brunt of the damage during the fight, but after being helped up, I took all the loot for myself. We meandered around the halls looking for anything useful, but all the cowards fled at the sight of my magic. They were gone, nowhere to be found. So we decided the best course of action was now just to head back outside to the grove and make everything look like an accident. But there was no one down here, which meant only one thing. Without wanting to miss the fight, we rushed up to the main homestead where clearly things had already gotten out of control thanks to me. As we ransacked and looted our way down the streets, we all of a sudden stumbled across the very thing I predicted. A massive sheeple versus tree hugger cage match. And let me tell ya, I was not gonna miss out on whatever was going down there. However, they did put out their weakest warriors to guard the door, so naturally I had to deal with those losers before the true slaughter could commence. All the while, one thing brimmed in my head. The fact that did you know that teeth are the only part of the body that cannot regenerate themselves? Since they are not made of live tissue, they are coated in enamel, meaning that they do not have the same regenerative qualities as the rest of your body does. Well anyways, everyone was dead except a couple of stragglers that wouldn't be too hard to clean up. I went on inside the bloodbath they had drawn for me, but as I began to loot their sorry carcasses, one of them noticed.
Keep your hands to yourself.
Well, unfortunately for them, they were already in the room of sacrifice. Not like someone could tell if I did this, it was the druid's fault. Meaning I now got to absolutely loot this place from top to bottom. Anything of sentimental value or just value to me was now in my possession. And no goody two-shoes sheep would stand in my way of becoming reasonably paid from a living vendor, which I would now need to find one, but all I found was a remaining victim.
You stood by us. I thought you might. Glad I was right.
Well, we can't have a Miss Know-It-All over here egoing up the place. She ran quickly, and I pursued her, hoping to keep secret my murderous rampage. You can't create wars between people if they know it was a third party. But all I came across was some sleeping person, so I shattered every bone in their body, looted their house, and returned to find Ego Lady was back. So, without hesitation...
Aggression has won you no friends.
Please, I have all the friends I need, and they burrow in my brain. And with that, my little bit of genocide quenched my temporary thirst, but soon I would have to urinate and move on to the next drink. So I made with great haste towards who knows where.
Dead goblins. Dead travelers.
But when I found a bunch of dead goblins and innocent people lying in pools of their own blood, this I knew for sure. This is where we would camp for the night. But as I rested by my fire, alone the way I like it, this hideous thing reared up.
Hark! A camp, and Hogma willing. Some friendly faces. Well met. Goblins roughed me up and stole my hose when they heard me singing hatchling love.
Well, Ogma was not willing. I told her to get out of my camp because she was a weakling.
But I have worked for years on my music.
So have I. You don't see me showboating for free rides.
But she seems such a delight. Let her stay, at least for the night.
Will, shut up or I'm gonna pronounce your name with an I instead of a Y.
Please, it would mean so much to me.
No, get out of here, leech.
Fine. If I must. And I don't have so much as a butter knife on me.
Cry me a river and then drown in it. And just like that, she disappeared into the night, never to be seen again. So I inhaled 15 raw chickens, 3 whole onions, and a live salmon, and then a carrot to help me sleep. But alas...
You open your eyes with a lurch, and you are not in your bed. You stand above a body which is in a state of gore nearly beyond recognition. The body of that scared girl who asked for nothing more than a night of shelter. Her blood covers you, and its warmth feels like the embrace of an old friend. You recall nothing of how you ended up here, but your head pounds and aches.
Couldn't have said it better, Mrs. Internal Thoughts. Well, knowing I should probably look for evidence that ties back to me...
There are dozens and dozens of wounds on the corpse. The killer did not stop savaging it, even when she was long gone, and your dominant arm aches. It aches from stabbing over and over. No matter how it appears, the body is there, and her blood is on your hands.
I needed a moment to truly take in this glorious sight.
If you could craft a corpse like this in one night, what masterpieces have you sculpted in your forgotten decades? You don't have much time for reflection now. You need to act. You may only have a few moments before the others awaken and begin to cast blame for the hot sin before you.
You're right. I need to try to hide this body, which I failed miserably at.
Her guts start to spill and flow everywhere as you shift her.
Oh well, time for bed.
You wonder if your misdeed will be noticed.
Probably not.
Another waif dead before her time. I wonder how it happened.
It must have been the wind.
The body hasn't even cooled yet. We need to stay alert.
Your guilt is safe. For now. As the Inquisition departs, you are left alone with a familiar headache.
So I popped an Advil and reminisced on my fortune. And with that, we made for the highway.
The frontier's toughest kill.
After that eventful night, we approached an actual town, but of course...
Goblins are close.
Get over there! Surround them like! You spotted us. Good. It's like they say. No fun in skewing a pig what doesn't know he's cooked.
What?
I'm gonna enjoy pulling off your skin when we're done.
Oh, likewise. And like that, the fight had kind of begun. However, they had not really seen me at all, only my companions. So I snuck around back to find their leader and eviscerated her from existence in front of her entire clan. Well, the Goblin clan freaked out and immediately killed Will, which was fine because his role is bait. And as the goblins attempted to hurt us, it was futile as they conveniently placed ladders all around for me to climb and then practice my barbecue. Even their long-range attackers couldn't outrange me, and with every second that passed, more blood was shed on this pathetic wannabe battlefield. My final victim hid inside a house, but lucky for me, this place had one of them fancy sunroofs. We headed back for Will, who was on purpose sleeping on the job, and proceeded to meet with the local goblin leader.
You sniffing where you ain't ought to be, friend. Might have to take that nose.
Who I attempted to scare into submission with nothing but a deadpan glare.
Yes! Yes, true soul.
A shiver runs across your mind. You feel sated.
Lads were gathered by the windmill.
Sated in fear and sated with information. With that, we looted their garbage and headed to the windmill. However, Princess wanted a word.
It seems our infection comes with an interesting development, but one to be treated with caution.
She was all freaked out by the worms, so I told her, "Don't be a big baby, you baby."
So long as it does indeed benefit us.
And then on to the windmill.
Look what we got here. Another little birdie wanting to fly.
No thank you. Already tried that, didn't work.
Hope you got a stomach for heights.
No, but I do have a stomach for goblins.
What's it bloody look like? We're teaching this here pipsqueak to fly.
I asked if I could watch with them as it was entertaining.
We ain't looking for company, maggot. Not unless you want to join him up there. Cough it up!
The mark glows, but you feel nothing in response. Your illithid power is beyond reach until you rest.
Unfortunately, for them, I could only pay them with blood money, and their own, to be specific.
Is it?
Be careful. Let's get this poor man down alive.
Shut up, Will! We fight! And with that, the great battle of the goblin windmill had begun. And because goblins are worth no more to me than vermin such as rats, or cockroaches, or humans, I would not show them mercy, nor include painless deaths. Every attack was done with the intention of causing insane amounts of pain and suffering, but without immediate execution. As they failed to provide me with entertainment before, now they would make amends with their own bodies. Sadly, the fight ended way too quickly and I was unsatisfied. So we looted up the area and wandered back into the windmill to find 2 random levers. I just started by pulling one, and it so happens that it slowed the thing down, giving this guy tied to it a chance to beg for his life.
Cut me loose! Free me and find out!
And so I freed him from his bondage to the windmill. With that, we made our way past the village and onwards, finding a nice little innocent house to camp outside in front of for the night. But as I consumed my nightly snack of 27 pears, 9 cucumbers, 4 bottles of mead, and 3 whole cheese wheels, something unsettled me.
Tonight, you can't chase the thoughts of that poor girl you killed from your head. You wonder what she looked like as she died. Squirming, skewered in abject agony.
Misintrusive thoughts had a point. It was a truly remarkable and beautiful sight.
You would have given anything to have seen it. As you jolt awake, too many questions plague you.
Like, who was the actor of Mr. Howell in Gilligan's Island? And with that in mind, I went for a little stroll.
When the proud deed of her death was yours, why do you have no recollection of it?
But as I stood pondering, the unthinkable happened. I found a movie critic.
Milady? Jubilant day! I have found your vile self at last! Sceleritas fell. Your loyal and ever-adoring butler. I followed you, my dear rotted master. We have been parted so tragically long.
Although some might have had a million questions, I had but one statement. It's about time I got this respect.
My lordly reprobate, I missed you ever so. I found you following the stench of that bard. She reeked across the coast, like a piece of dog muck on the road.
It was absolute bliss to kill her in front of everyone.
It seems you've become quite the exhibitionist without me. I can only congratulate you on your indecency.
Yeah, and don't you ever forget it.
Anyways, I come once again bearing a part of your dreadful inheritance.
Showered with respect for murder and gifts? This was a good night.
You earned this iniquitous prize through your great show of exceptional violence the other night. I'm sure Master will be better soon. A fellow of your fine breeding is never down for long. I cannot wait until your next act of shameless barbarity.
And neither could I. This was the perfect opportunity to gain from others' loss.
Oh, my sanguine master. Your next work will be wonderful. It will be hard to improve upon what you have already done. I am a great admirer of what you did to the bard's left carotid artery. But I am certain inspiration will strike. Be true to yourself, my lady.
And with the knowledge I now had, the dark urge within me only grew stronger. Well, we woke up ready for the journey onwards, not quite sure what to expect. Yep, that seems about right.
What the hell are you doing?
To not prolong the situation, I decided that killing them both was probably the best course of action for intercourse. I immediately burned the werewolf to death, but the she-ogre was a tad bit more persistent than I was hoping for. Will seemed to take the brunt of the damage, and that ended up in him being dramatic and on the ground. However, after but a few more attacks, the ogre fell. Awkwardness averted. And immediately I noticed something shiny up on the hill.
Beast fit for an ogre. You notice a peculiar dagger protruding from the top.
But before Internal Thoughts could finish, I was already getting my grubby hands all over the blade.
The dagger glides smoothly out of the mystery meat.
And I had myself a brand new razor. But of course, only milliseconds after interrupting some kind of honeymoon, I was interrupted by some kind of honeyed words man.
My, what manner of place is this? The mouse smiled brightly. It outfoxed the cat. Then down came the claw. And that, love, was that.
I told him that was dumb and he should feel bad.
It looks like a human, but it speaks like a beast. Come.
That wasn't even a rhyme. I found myself in a big corridor of sorts, a table with food in the center, nothing I would dare eat.
Middle of somewhere.
I immediately threatened him.
Tut. No need for that crude cutlery of yours. Go on, partake. Enjoy your supper. After all, it might just be your last.
Well, at least I could, sell some of this food to poor people or something.
Not easily rattled, I see. Good.
But like always, the nursery rhymer turned out to be some kind of devil. Typical.
Am I a friend? Potentially. An adversary? Conceivably.
My next meal? Indubitably.
Aren't you a nervous one? One skull, 2 tenants, and no solution in sight. I could fix it all, like that.
Then fix it or die, clock's ticking here.
Yes. I like it when my clients put up a fight. Beg, borrow, and steal. Exhaust every possibility until none are
He ranted on and on about how great he is and how much I needed him, assuming I think things like stealing and murdering are last resort, until finally he shut up.
I'll be there when it runs out.
What runs out? I wasn't listening. Well, you know what? Probably you'll never see him again. With that, we found our way into a gully, and then a large open cavern, surely with no dangers inside. And luckily for us, there was absolutely nothing dangerous here, except for
an owlbear, its beaked face looming out of the darkness.
I commanded Will to study the beast, which he did out of fear of what I'm capable of if he failed.
The owlbear's one good eye flicks away for a moment. You follow its glance and see an owlbear cub,
also known as Dinner. And so we beat the ever-living tar out of the owlbear, using every dirty trick in the book to not only be loud and obnoxious, but also terrifying and driven by pain. The cub embarrassingly swiped at me to no avail, moments before its mother perished in a flurry of knives.
Looks from you to his dead mother.
Yes, I did this.
A single strike will end his suffering.
But was I truly heartless enough to? And so we exited the cave with our full backpacks of fresh owlbear meat. Now, moments after our bearable fight, we came across more pathetic morsels. Humans crying about something.
You can't die. Please, stay with us.
They're always crying, and I ignored their pleas and I told them I do what I want, and that they would listen.
I'm so sorry. It's our brother, True Soul Edwin. He's injured and
Something stirs deep within you, hungry and alert. It's taking something you'll never get back.
Mine, the true soul. She will...
Now this son of a gun tried to condemn me with his dying breath, and I smiled at his failure of an attempt. Juvenile.
Please!
He's with the Absolute now.
Huh. That's ironic, because that's exactly who you both are about to meet.
What?
What are you doing? Your sword brother, now!
And with that, I sent these perfectly healthy siblings to meet their brother ahead of schedule. Time is a funny thing, as you never know when yours might run out according to someone else. Then there was only one thing left to do. One of my favorite activities, desecrating corpses.
Most corpses feel like toys before you, to be played with and discarded when you tire.
Very true, Mrs. Intrusive Thoughts in my head.
This body seems different. A friend calls out from the corpse, desperate to be freed. Why let its host's memories go to waste?
With her suggestion, I gently snapped his spinal cord from his neck down, removing but a wee little worm from my collection. Well, anyways, we headed deeper into the unknown as our course was still not exactly straightforward. As we made our way for the swamp, I picked up the scent of a decaying man 200 feet along the way. As we approached it, there was a silky white dog standing guard of its presumed to be master. The dog aggressively yelled at me, so I stood tall and screamed back at it to stand down.
With a deep, heartbroken whine, the dog bows his head.
All will submit to my authority. So we looted the loser and ditched the dog. Finally, our path had led us to two important things. Honey and random hallucinogenic mushrooms, or so I was hoping, and second, people to take advantage of.
Lads, for the love of all that is holy, I've never clapped eyes on your poor sister.
Just let her go. Please.
You there? Please, I don't know what's come over these boys. I just want to go home.
Shut it, Granny, not my problem.
Bollocks! You were supposed to rush to my defense, love. Fat lot of good you are.
Well, my immediate shutdown of the Granny ended in the brain melting of two fully grown men, valiantly but foolishly looking for their sister.
You ever darken my door, you'd best have that head bowed and an apology at the ready. Bye-bye now.
And with that, she poofed off into the swamp somewhere, probably living in some run-down wannabe house built in a tree. But as we approached the forest,
a chill runs up your spine. You feel like you're being watched. You blink and the wilderness changes. A swamp, stinking and insidious, assaults your senses.
Since the swamp just assaulted me, I would now have to return the favor, but with more bloodshed. But all I came across were sheep people 2.0.
That noise. Is the creature pretending to be a sheep?
So I said something super racist in sheep to elicit a response. And we left the swamp for now, with word of a local sanctum being attacked. And on our way to that sanctum, we came across yet another goblin encampment.
Oi! Thicko! This here's off limits. Get to the main gate, or I'll plug you full of arrows.
Well, that was an interesting way to say, we're going to die mercilessly by your hands, including but not limited to getting pushed off a cliff, blasted by psionic beams, blended in a blade flurry of knives, eldritch blasting, electric chaired but without the chair, and other combat commonalities. And so that is exactly what we did, and the goblins perished like good inferior beings before me should. So we looted their corpses and finally made way the wrong way to the mountain pass, which was guarded by a purple dome of psychic energy, capable to bring a grown-ass psychopath to their knees.
Obey my command. The voice is irresistible. You recognize the overwhelming authority that you've used on others. Your vision clouds, leaving you in a dark, featureless shadowscape. Then there are three figures before you. An armored male elf, exuding power and command. A handsome younger man with a quick, easy smile. And a pale young woman with even paler eyes.
But then, as soon as the vision was getting good, Princess whipped out a Rubik's Cube Hex Edition and dispelled all the magic from consuming everything.
My power grows. My forces gather.
Wait, is she talking about me? Well, no matter, the Rubik's Cube was no longer a secret.
Don't give me that look. I don't know what just...
Hey, you shut your mouth when you're talking to me! And so I commanded her to tell me everything.
I am a servant of Shah. My home is a secret cloister in Baldur's Gate. I have to guard the artifact with my life. There. You have the truth, for all it's worth.
Alright, now me, truth or dare. Well, unfortunately, truth or dare would have to wait, as we had finally arrived at the sanctum, or something rather, where they had some kind of jester singing old show tunes on a stage.
None with scepter abraid, draw Ragslin, short work of the innkeeper made.
Bro! Get off the stage!
Never.
You, move on! That a friend of yours?
Certainly not. What are you doing?
Trying to get you fired.
I'm busy here. Wait, wait. Draw Ragslin, we pray, we...
Come on, pigeon. Back to your cage.
Now, look what you've done.
Yeah, I saved open mic night. Well, this all seemed great, a whole goblin festival where I wasn't being immediately attacked on sight. Regardless, I'm sure something of use was within the castle, but before we could...
Boy, ain't no party in here.
So I probed the weakling's thoughts, and rather successfully, might I add.
Can't be here to see the true souls. Those types don't even bother to wait.
And then I used her own thoughts against her.
Well, I didn't say that.
Silence! I'm going in.
Well, look. Big Boots here has an appointment with Draw Ragslin himself. Throne room's at the back. He's communing, mind. So step soft.
And so we made our way back deeper and deeper into the dank, dark ruins of the church. Watched a guy get Spartan kicked into a herd of spiders, and finally went absolutely the wrong direction and ended up in the chambers of some incredibly angry elf lady who was very angry.
Your scouting party has not returned, and half of the intruders escaped your guards.
Sorry, mistress. We mucked up.
Until their sanctuary is found, I will take something precious from you every hour that passes. A trinket, a tongue, a limb.
I ain't no use without my limbs.
You heard thoughts mingle with yours. A cold hand caressing your brain. The chamber melts away to reveal a dark, endless nowhere.
Praise be. Are you here to join my hunt?
Absolutely, but little did she know she was the one being hunted.
Interesting. What do you know of this druid?
I had no idea, so I lied to her.
If you were sent here to hunt him, perhaps you can help me. The druid makes his home in a nearby sanctuary where his followers worship a false god. I intend to find it and destroy it.
Oh, she doesn't know that I pinned the tree huggers versus the sheeple and committed mass genocide. Meaning that if I played my cards right, I could convince her to go there, leaving this place unguarded for the taking.
My patience wears thin, true soul. The hunt must begin.
Then be gone, she-elf! Seek out the glory, or whatever.
If you played a part in thinning their numbers, I commend your efforts. Together, we will slaughter any who remain.
Ironically, that would be none.
Join me in my warband at the Grove. It will fall.
And with that, I just convinced the only serious line of defense in this entire goblin encampment to leave itself unguarded. So I quickly ransacked her office of anything worth selling and then rushed off to the door to witness her gathering up the troops. Together we ran towards the door, ready to head to the Grove, but as she ran off, I stopped and headed in the completely opposite direction. You see, as she left to the Grove, I didn't want to give her the satisfaction of an immediate attack. No, I went off in search of ruining everybody else's lives in the meantime. So naturally, I slaughtered a band of naked mole rats or something on the highway, and ended up approaching a large abandoned hotel in the middle of nowhere. But instead of wasting money and staying at the hotel, I just set up camp outside. But that night, as I laid me down to sleep, I tossed and I turned and I awoke to a figure above me, performing some sort of incantation. It awoke me with a start.
I came just in time.
It couldn't be.
You are transforming.
Legends, children's stories, that's all they were, but there he was, opening my eyes to the truth of what was happening. It was truly him. Papa Smurf. I demanded to know if I was hallucinating or if this was real.
Your salvation. And not for the first time. I saved you before.
But he knew everything that had happened to me.
I'm here to save you again. Don't worry. You will not become a mind flayer.
But even through the lens of truth, I still dreamed of sawing his arms clean off.
Though the thought crosses your mind, it doesn't hold you, doesn't devour you, as your thoughts too often can.
Your compulsions will doom us all, if you do not work to stop them.
Hey, my compulsions are why everyone is dead, alright? A little respect where it's due.
There is great potential within you. It comes from that parasite. Your instinct is to resist the power it gives, but you must accept it. Nurture it. But for the sake of both of us, you must learn to wield it.
Although I already had the intention to abuse the power of the parasite, Papa Smurf then showed me into the celestial realm where a rave was taking place.
I have to go. The enemy is closing in. I will be back.
And with that, although still brimming with questions, Papa Smurf unleashed his parasitic magic to disperse me from the celestial realm.
Right now, you'll feel better.
And then I enjoyed a good night's sleep. Now, I always enjoy waking up to my murder circle. It reminds me that running away from guilt and shame is healthy. Then I met some guy who got into a bad skateboarding accident.
Ah, another. Thy name has been recorded.
Regardless, I decided to attack him on the spot.
Very well.
However, he was completely invulnerable to my attacks. He would absolutely prove useful in the future, I'm sure, in the case of something bad happening to certain people. Well, back in the Great Mountains, we finally entered that hotel that we left off at and found out it was actually just being used as a bunker to concerned morons hunting down a demon.
She ran toward the river when she saw we were merely wounded, not dead. Down the hill from here.
They were incredibly dramatic.
She must pay for her crimes. If you capture her, you will have served Tyr where we could not.
And weak. But even so, they had just given me directions to something to kill. Therefore, I would at least take the time to check it out. Lo and behold, there was a demon.
Well, well, well. How the Blade of Frontiers has changed. I thought you hunted devils, Will, not innocents.
I won't be lectured on monsters by Zariel's servant. What happened in the grove was a horror, one I won't ignore. But nor will I let a devil roam the coast unchallenged.
Please. The only devils here are you lot.
Yeah! Hey, shut up and die, demon!
Try, see what happens!
And with her wanting to see what happens, we were about to show her. As she pathetically stood dazed by my eldritch blast, we took turns absolutely wailing on the demon with various magic spells we wanted to test out from leveling up. Will put down a blade flurry, as to which she jumped through it like a friggin' idiot, and every attempt she had to attack, it was thwarted immediately. After toying with my prey for a good couple of minutes, sometimes letting her hit me just to feel the sensation of my own blood-sustaining immortal shell, Princess body slammed her into the ground. And with that, we looted her.
Faint, acrid smell clings to the corpse, like the memory of a storm.
Or most of her, as I sliced her head clean off with nothing but a butter knife. The fact swelled in my head that did you know sloths can hold their breath longer than dolphins can, upwards of 40 minutes.
The head comes free with a sickening crunch.
And just like that, I added another body part to my collection. What a day. But then Will...
So, why am I frozen in doubt? Tell me it was right to strike her down.
No one gives a rat-a-tat, Will.
I care.
I vowed to hunt vicious monsters, not join their ranks.
Why should this time be any different? My prey has fallen. Hail the blade.
He was clearly going through some kind of emotional breakdown or something, so I intervened to make him praise me.
Well then, hail to our champion.
And with that, we made haste back to the Goblin Church. Now, on our way back to the goblin-infested castle, there were a couple things I needed to do before leaving, and the first was taking care of that jester. Figured I could use him as some kind of camp entertainment.
All right, calm down. I don't want no trouble. Here's the key.
pigeon's all yours.
But before releasing him, I decided to speak with him.
Perhaps you'd be so kind as to unlock this cage?
No, not right now. Figured I'd keep him there a while longer. He ain't going nowhere.
I don't need a promise, my friend.
Now I would attend that communion thing I should have days ago, but just didn't. Turns out it was actually just some weird cult garbage.
I command you, corpse. Speak. Reveal truth to the absolute.
This is the big boss. Strike him down.
The hobgoblin turns to you, and the parasite squirms in your skull. You taste the ale on his tongue and the bile in his soul. He doesn't speak his next words, yet they still rattle your skull from within.
You ever talk to a dead squid? Now's your chance.
Mrs. Intrusive Thoughts was right, and I moved in to look at the squid. However, I decided that instead I would just kill everyone in the room.
Heretic!
And just like that, I managed to piss off half a room of goblins because I sent the other half of warriors to the grove on a very special mission. Well, being in the rafters was definitely the way to go here, as none of these people had good stability in the least. We spent the majority of our time pretending to rain down tomatoes on bad comedians, but instead it was, beams of eldritch magic that could cauterize a wound as fast as it could shred the flesh wide open. But the goblins were persistent little snobs that fired back, and just because we were killing all their friends and their leader. Now, hilariously enough, a couple of them decided to join us in the rafters of the auditorium, and after blasting their vital organs, we'd shove them off and pretend they had parachutes. But they didn't, so their carcasses would burst on the floor. It was like art, and the ground was the canvas. Then Will, on purpose, got pushed off of the rafters to his death. For some reason, some of the goblins didn't get the memo that we were all straight up murdering them, and they joined us, and hey, I'll take it. Better them getting hit than me. After what felt like minutes of battle, pushing, scorching, absolutely decimating enemies not worth anything in the eyes of anyone, we polished off the rest of the lousy fighters. But then, of course,
Your murderous actions have given this guard the perfect excuse to eviscerate you. Any last words?
How about dodge this? And just like that, our goblin enemies and friends were all dead. Well, then it turns out that Bilbo or Bolgo or whatever the heck his name was had worse.
This one is a true soul parasite. It can enhance you. You can absorb its potential. Open your mind to it. You already know how.
Obviously, I wanted all the power I could get, so I consumed the worm telepathically into my head.
Your mind swells as it subsumes everything the tadpole has to offer. Everything it was and everything it was destined to be. Pure potential.
Yes, the more parasites, the better!
Good. You have grown your power and improved your chances of survival.
Oh yeah, and then we saved Will because he died in the battle at some point. The next logical course of action, obviously, was to jam parasites into my brain. It felt like meth, but if meth actually had a kick. But naturally, the goblins were pissed off about something, and regardless of whatever it was, I didn't have time for this. I just jammed parasites into my brain. I was having a moment here. With that said, we slaughtered the rest of the shriveling half-wit simpletons with extreme prejudice as if they meant something. We even managed to shove one into the spider pit. Good times. I laughed, the spiders laughed, the goblin choked on his own blood. Regardless, we finished off the rest of them bit by bit, magic by magic, and honestly, we started to realize that maybe overthrowing the Goblin Empire was more of a side quest than a main thing, you know? After all that blood was shed, we bumped into some shirtless guy.
I am leaving. I suggest you do the same.
Leaving? I don't remember giving this guy permission to leave, so I revoked his hallway pass. Then, in the spirit of having a loyal dog, I released the jester.
Smashing! Soon, my friend. Soon we can share a flagon of something liquid and a tale of daring do.
If you drink any of my ale, I will personally escort you to join the last bard that entered my camp. Well, a lake of goblin blood seemed like a homely campsite, so we set up.
She's coming.
Only to be greeted by none other than Will's Goth GF.
Well, buddy, I thought it was time I dropped by the doghouse.
Mizora.
Get your gosh darn horned up head out of my camp!
Now? Oh, but I'm just getting comfy. Your warlock friend is my puppy. And he's been a very good boy.
That sounds like a joke I'm too dog killer to understand, so I'm just gonna kill you.
Kill me? I wouldn't recommend it. I die, and Will turns to a lemure and gets sucked right down to the hells.
Okay.
Which reminds me.
And then, before our very eyes, the demon lady turned Will into the Silver Surfer. Or wait, no, she just put a jacket on him. And with that, the demon left, and I was ready for bed. However, she did leave me a nice new jacket that I would take from Will. So I horked down like 40 rings of sausage and slept like a dead person. Now, first thing in the morning, I ripped that new jacket right off Will's back while he was sleeping, and might I add, I looked far better in it anyways. With that, we left the goblin encampment and headed for the grove, where that angry she-elf lady had been waiting for me for weeks probably. I don't know, I don't keep track of time.
Praise the Absolute. She will reward us well for this exquisite carnage. There were few left alive. You began the slaughter without me, I assume.
I only had one thing to do anyways. Knock off any loose ends.
You dare to challenge me?
Yup.
We will see who the Absolute truly loves.
We needn't fight every time, you know. There's this wild notion called choosing your battles.
Shut up, princess, battle for me. And just like that, I managed to get on the bad side of probably one of the most savage killers in all the land. However, I had also divided her away from all of her pathetic goblin goons, leaving her alone in her final moments. We fought strategically up in a flight of stairs, meaning that she also had to climb them, but only after the fight had begun. We had multiple turns to smack her around. But because I'm such a great instigator of fights, she was zeroing in on me specifically, and that meant I needed a plan. That plan, flawlessly executed might I add, was to run outside whenever she came after me and let my teammates take the hits. And so, upon re-entering the battlefield and Will being brutally punished for my actions, I took all the credit in the victory of this battle, easily winning over some deranged lady who would try to steal my psychopathic spotlight if I ever gave her the chance. Her name would be forgotten, and she would be lost forever to a ghost town no one would remember existed. An end so dishonorably pathetic. Anyways, we made our way back to the swamp, assuming that the swamp granny of the south was ready with that apology she owed us, and I was right about her stupid house. It was built in a stupid tree. Of course, she was busy monologuing to some random chick feeding her pie or something.
Crumb left on that plate, girl.
Auntie Ethel, please. One more bite and this pie is gonna come back up to say hello.
Don't make me get the wooden spoon. If it isn't the cheekiest pup of them all. You'd best have one hells of an apology for me, young lady.
Well, this wasn't going to plan, so I just attacked her.
You absolute idiot!
And then she started glowing all green and weird and stuff. I don't know. People around here, man, I don't get it. I could tell she was upset. And that led us straight to a fight in her house, where we walloped on her so hard within the first few seconds of the fight, she had to call back up to those sheep gnome things from the swamp. And then she abandoned the fight.
Come now, Marina. Time to go.
Leaving us to clean up this gnome mess she brought to her place. Well, knowing that was probably the only way we'd be able to chase after her and get that apology, we polished off the gnomes like we were giving a fine manicure, and although they got a couple of good hits in, it was never enough to save them from a horrendously painful death. And also, Will died again, on purpose. We then decided to ransack this old hag's place for every drop of profitable loot we could find, and man, this lady was hoarding like the apocalypse was coming. By turning off her fireplace, we gained access to her secret basement. You know what I'm talking about, the one where you put holograms of yourself to scare away trespassers.
You are as thick as they come, sweetness.
Thank you.
This is my personal playhouse, and you don't have an invite. Get out!
Or what?
Oh, the cocky ones are my favorite to chew on.
I don't know what this lady was on, but now I wanted it. So I murdered some random homeless guy living down here.
Stop! Stop! Make it stop!
Started shooting anything that seemed shootable. And found out that the tree was all fake, just a bunch of smoke and mirrors nonsense. which led us directly into a room filled with innocent people being forced against their will to defend the Swamp Witch's home. My companions begged me to non-lethally take down these poor souls, but in the end I forgot to turn my Eldritch Blast to stun, so I blew holes straight through their innocent bodies. They begged themselves to stop.
I won't!
But that just made them sound crazy, so I figured it was just best to kill everything and move on. We moved further towards the core of whatever this giant tree was and made our way safely down. And finally, we ran straight into the witch hag herself.
You come to my home, interfere in my business, and now have the gall to face me in the heart of...
Are you talking to me?
I'll rip your spine
Hey,
out your
shut
asshole.
up! Shut your crack-headed, hair-extended, pimple-pushing, goon-looking, sorry excuse for a wench mouth!
I'll bring you back and do it all over again. Just get out of here!
I didn't know who that caged woman was, but no, it was fight time!
You want the girl so bad.
Once again, not sure why anyone is focused on this girl, I just want whatever drugs this old hag was dealing. And with that said, it took us quite literally seconds to whittle her down to within an inch of her life. So far down that she ended up begging us like a groveling peasant under my boot.
Wait! Wait just a tick! Killing me is a waste of time. I'll find a way to return. Always have, always will. I have something you want.
Yes, I would love to rip off your head and mount it on Will's backpack to carry around.
No, Petal. There's no need for such talk. Let me leave with the girl, and I'll give you power.
If her powers were worth anything, we wouldn't have beaten her. Finish this.
It's your choice, sweetness.
Now, power is power, and I wanted it, alongside the cage chick. And make it snappy.
You greedy little bollocks. Fine. Here.
Turned out her hair extensions were her power.
I'll not soon forget this sweetness. You have my word.
But the deal. What about my husband? What happens to him?
Deal's off, you dumb cow. And you've her to thank for it. Not that it matters. I'll find another just as plump and ripe. I can set up shop elsewhere. People always need lotions and potions.
Hey, good luck out there, Granny.
You bastard! You ruined it! You ruined everything!
I can live with ruining everything.
Go on. Walk away. And wave to my husband's rotting corpse on your way out.
Sure, anything else?
That's right. He's buried outside, and I was this close to getting him back. Thanks to you, I'll never see him again.
Hey, it's not my fault you fell for the oldest trick in the book. And with that, we began to leave the granny's house, but not before taking all the drugs we could fit in our backpacks first. But as we left, Rapunzel over here was moping over something.
The thought of putting him in a wheelbarrow and making the journey all over again.
Well, hey, look on the bright side. At least your husband is a dead, rotting corpse.
You're a miserable bastard, you know that?
All right, calm down. I found a wand that'll bring him back.
You can?
Yeah, it's right here, you whiny brat.
Surge of power from the wand. The air suddenly tastes acrid. It wants to be used.
Bring him back! Bring Connor back! Please!
And so, to my surprise, it brought the girl's Prince Charming back. And in perfect condition, too. Impeccable.
What? What's happening? Why is he still dead?
What a specimen! Look at that husband go!
You feel something pull at you. The creature yearns for a master.
My thoughts exactly.
What have you done to him?
Listen, I simply removed the part of him that was flawed. You know, the part that made him the man you loved. And I've turned him into my own zombie slave.
He's not a creature. He's my husband.
Then I dare you to kiss him.
I wanted him back. Back the way he was. Not this.
Well, too late. He's your husband now.
You bastard! Give him back! I thought you were going to hell!
The woman ran away in terror and in tears. So I allowed her an unexpectedly painful death. Today was a win for friendship. After the swamp, we ran into what I thought was blood, but it turns out it was just an entire horde of wild wildebeests or something. There was no time to waste. Having creatures existing was a direct abomination to me existing. But just as we started killing, we heard voices from a nearby cave.
Hear that? Someone's fighting the gnolls. We should help.
Don't be a fool, lad. Shut your mouth and keep your head down.
Huh, not even gonna join in? Fine, you're next. But for right now, we had an infestation to deal with, and I was going to get that new rug. Embarrassingly for the beasts, before the fight even really began, we were already moving on to their wildebeest overlord. Princess even summoned some sort of floating weapon that would gut punch the thing so hard it puked all over Will. I had also forgotten that I put a "you can't hit me or it'll hurt you" spell on myself, so the wildebeest just ended up killing itself. And then those humans showed up.
By the gods, you're a sweet sight. Are any of my crew still alive out there?
You know what was a sweet sight? All your men ripped across the road.
I guess that's a no. Risen Road's more dangerous than ever. You're the first friendly face we've seen since Eltergard.
Friendly? If you give me all your stuff.
Hold on now. You made short work of the beasts. And I reckon you'd make shorter of me and the boy.
Yes, I
but
would.
We're not plump little merchants you can boss around.
All right, bucko, shut up and I'll just kill everyone you love.
Tougher bastards than you have tried. Let's just go our separate ways and be thankful we're all in one piece.
Unfortunately for you, I've never seen One Piece.
Bloody fool! May the Black Hand take you!
And with that, this anime-loving nerd rose to arms with what frail little nerd arms he had. Well, him and his stupid son, or whoever that was, not like he could hit the broadside of a barn door from 2 feet away anyways, we started a little tussle. We started with a couple of your usual flesh wounds just to have them limping and hollering a bit, but for show of course. But once they started to get a little frisky, I blasted the aged one to barely alive status, quickly stabbing him in the face. Oh, and then I quickly killed off the other one. Oh right, I forgot Will burned to death on purpose! So we looted their belongings, but there wasn't really a whole lot worth taking, so I don't know why they were so aggressive towards us. The next quick side tangent me and the gang went on was just a simple burning building with people trapped inside.
Something's burning.
We started to loot the dead people as soon as we arrived, but...
He of the unsleeping eyes, grant me the might to carry this burden. Grant me the faith to face darkness without fear.
Hey, he was a loser and he deserved to die.
Only a coward would speak ill of the fallen. Would that the arrow had pierced your heart instead.
Now that's problematic because I don't have one. Well, burning or not, building meant one thing, loot. And so I charged in with my companions, no regard for their safety, and we burst down the already crumbling building's questionable support beams. As we hopped inside, some guy was there.
The fire! Hurry! Get this thing off me!
How about I don't, but say I did? The building was coming down anyways, so I figured, hey, might as well rob these poor slobs and then just pretend I'm a hero in the process. Until I accidentally saved some elf lady trapped inside. Huge mistake.
I'm afraid proper thanks must wait.
Now, funny enough, she didn't care about that other guy at all. She in fact ran right over him lying there. Probably was the one to finish him off too. So I rummaged through his pockets and then I left the building to go confront this elf lady and her intentions.
Fresh air. At last. Your boldness is a blessing. I'm in your debt.
Yeah, that's not a good place to be.
I must ask again for your aid.
No.
Please.
No.
Rescue Ravengard from his drow captors. The council will reward you for your effort.
The council can kiss my...
It is not fealty I ask, but a great favor on behalf of our city.
Okay, then your city can kiss my...
I see your goodwill has limits. Far be it from me to stretch them.
Although she was insanely rude, she gave me a free weapon of choice, which definitely improved my day slightly amongst that guy burning to death in there. Well, in an effort to just get away from people, I ended up running straight into a people, and one of which that was not the type for begging me for mercy. Turns out my party members had fallen behind at some point, probably when I accidentally pushed that stroller off a cliff. So this fight was up to me and me alone. As I was locked in combat with whoever this was, all I could think about was the fact that did you know Venus is the only planet that spins clockwise, whereas all the other planets besides Uranus, which actually spins sideways, spin counterclockwise. And with that said, I murdered a random woman in cold blood. But victory was short-lived.
Drop your weapons!
I'll feed your innards to the ants before I do that, Istik.
This is your last chance!
No, look up. That was your last chance, Istik. Now burn!
Turns out that dragon from the spaceship was back and under the command of those weird elf creatures. What were they called again? Get spanked or something, I don't know.
Find the weapon. Our queen watches us. Fail her at your peril.
Facing that lot would be suicide. At least for now.
Wait, I can speak out loud? Wow, that was kind of an out-of-body experience right there. Well, anyways, I looted the dead girl and crossed the bridge, except...
Will's brows furrow as your minds connect. He sees the burning embers of Joaquin's rest.
If Floric says he lives, then he lives. And we need to free him from his captors.
But why?
You see, Grand Duke Ravengard is my father.
Do you think I care?
I know I haven't said.
I could quite literally not care less, Will. And so we went down and approached the Spanx.
What easy prey you make, walking right within my blade's embrace.
Now listen here, you green-skinned, Grinch-looking, broken-mouth, having bad posture, standing, gym-skipping hippie elf. I forgot where I was going with that, but you're desperate to find something.
Perceptive for such an inferior creature. A vessel fell from the sky. We seek a precious weapon that was taken from it.
You suddenly feel a strange anxiety take hold. Not your own, but that of the artifact you carry. Somehow, it's afraid.
Help us find it, and I will leave your blood beneath your skin unspilled.
You make an interesting bargain, but I want all your money.
You haggle with your own life, fool. Be silent and hold still.
He begins to move his hand in a quick flurry of gestures.
Ah, Cat's Cradle, and I knew the counter spell. It was quite elementary, really. And just like that, his stupid little magic failed him, just like he did his parents.
Nothing even approaching a useful thought in that skull. I ought to just kill you.
He was starting to bore me, so I told him to take a hike. But with passion.
My blade is my right. If I can take your life, it is mine.
Oh, calm down there, Veruca Salt.
But perhaps you have other uses. Seek out survivors from the ship that crashed on this wretched world. Bring me their heads. Bring me the weapon. If you succeed, the reward will be great. Now go.
That's right. Turn around and run away on your little dragon, your tasty-looking dragon. I had just gotten invited right to their headquarters. Now, I would definitely accept that invitation at some point. Now, as things started to ramp up around these parts, I realized that there were still a couple of loose ends I need to wrap up. Now, starting at the goblin camp, there were still a bunch of stragglers that probably hadn't gotten the memo that they were pretty much extinct and should just give up. So we proceeded to wipe them off the face of the planet, one by one, or sometimes like 6 of them at once. Their group up instincts were terribly timed. And not too long after our fiasco with them began, it ended, and we had officially destroyed the last of the goblins, meaning that we had now third-partied the genocide of 3 entire races. When inside, I jammed a couple more parasites into my brain to make sure that I was always learning and growing. That's important, you know? And then we came across a caged goblin.
Praise his ever-bleeding axe. Praise his throne of flaming iron. Praise Maglubiet.
You know Maglubiet, a tyrannical deity who treats his goblinoid followers as slaves.
With that, I decided to ruin his cult by giving him freedom. A momentary freedom, to be sure, but it's more about what it symbolized. Then we came across some nerd just chilling out on some kind of angled bed.
Please, let me out. There's no reason for this.
I was feeling charitable today, so sure.
The lock clicks and opens.
The man fell down to the stone floor like a weak piece of meat.
Thank you. I better go before they catch us.
Oh, everyone is dead.
I should be able to make it to the Grove on my own.
Wait, did you say the Grove?
They need to know they're in danger.
My guy, I am the danger. And with that said, I Eldritch blasted that son of a bow. Up next on my quick bucket list was to release some giant spiders into the world. And I communed with them first.
Seems poised to attack, but she hesitates, tapping her claws as if trying to communicate. The other spider echoes her.
These beasts were precious and needed to know that I am their overlord. They would respect my power.
The spider relaxes slightly, but you feel her hunger and fear beneath the surface.
And with that, I let them roam out into the world.
She scuttles toward the door.
Hungry, threatened, and confused. I'm sure any survivors out there would be fine. Now, of course, guarding some of the treasure was another hulking ogre.
You not supposed to be here.
Is that right?
You don't have permission to be here. You're about to be ejected.
Listen here, you giant oaf. I own this place. I own you.
Congratulations, you've convinced them to give you access. Now what?
Well, we celebrated, obviously, by killing the giant ogre. And she put up a bit of a fight, smacking us around with a giant stick she probably found in the yard, but she was no match for us, using her as a piggy in the middle. Our attack shoved her around without mercy, remorse, anything, just for pure pleasure. And with that, she died, and we now had access to whatever the goblins were keeping down here. Which turned out to be some sort of puzzle mechanism, probably leading us either to where we needed to go or where there were more people to toy with. Now, using my enlarged parasite brain, I strategically spammed the plates around and around until finally they clicked into place, solving the puzzle with extreme finesse and skill.
This goes very far down.
We headed down the large flight of stairs going who knows where, and proceeded to climb a ladder so infinite you'd think it was a metaphor for the IQ of my companions. And where did it lead me? Straight into the heart of the world, the Mushroom Kingdom or something. Plus there were minotaurs here, so that would prove to be a... Oh, never mind. Well, we definitely weren't ready for that yet, so to tie up more loose ends, we wandered around the world a bit more, ended up fighting off a bunch of pigeons who were guarding something, and let me tell you, killing flying things at this point was a specialty of mine. Then we looted some dead kids, so that was pretty neat. But our curiosity ended up bringing us to some white-haired prissy boy.
Harry, I've got one of those brain things cornered.
No, you don't. I've literally killed them all.
There, in the grass. You can kill it, can't you? Like you killed the others?
Not for free. Kill it yourself, geek.
I was hoping for a kind soul. Well, not to worry.
Now, without fear, he attacked me like a coward. Like a filthy elf would. But amidst our tussle, his weakness in squishy flesh was no match for my ability to easily roll away from him.
I saw you on the ship, strutting about whilst I was trapped in that pod.
Yeah, and I laughed at you in there.
What did you and those tentacled freaks do to me?
This guy was clearly delusional.
You arrogant little...
Your mind twists. You're looking out of unfamiliar eyes, prowling dark, busy streets.
What was that? What's going on?
Now, I told him I still had no idea, but at least I was being constructive about it.
It's those tentacled monsters. They took you too. I saw it during... whatever just happened. And to think... I was ready to decorate the ground with your innards.
Hey, and to think I was ready to mince your hide and wear it to prom. Great minds. I told the chump to beat it, and he better watch himself if he ever crossed paths with me again.
So I hope an introduction will suffice.
And with that, I tried to leave again.
A pleasure. No words of wisdom before you go.
How about I get drunk and laugh at you while I watch you get mauled to death by dog brains?
Funny.
Yes, humorous.
Well, maybe I'll see you again. Still wearing the same skin, I hope.
And with that, I finally made my leave, hoping to see him in the obituaries tomorrow. After a busy day, I shoveled a backpack's worth of food down and crashed for the night, ready for tomorrow's journey to the mountain pass. But of course, I had forgotten the jester had joined us at the camp.
Practically an expert. They've tentacles, you know. Quite shocking.
He tried to preach to me how much of an expert he was on the squid things, babbling on and on about how much he knew, like he knew firsthand. So I told him I had been infected, just for kicks.
That can't be. I'd be irresponsible not to debunk such a strange claim.
In the spirit of becoming this guy's nightmare for the rest of his life, I allowed him to examine my eye.
If I just peer in your eye, I could quickly... Oh, dear sweet gods!
His reaction was exactly what I was looking for. The horror of this all being a reality.
If we managed it, we'd have a specimen of incredible rarity on our hands. I'll need to research the particulars, however. Give me a bit of time, and I'll have this little issue sorted.
Well, that was unexpected, but hey, if this schmuck could be capable of removing the dang thing, I'd give him a shot. And with that, we left camp and made way for the pass, knowing that the Get Spanked clan allegedly set up shop in these parts. The absolute beauty of a torture monastery was ruined by Will being dramatic about the parasites.
At first, I thought we should avoid these gifts no matter what advantage we gain.
So I convinced him that jamming worms in your brain is a good idea.
Very well. If it's mind games these parasites wish to play, we'll play. And we'll win.
Only moments after, we heard a lady shouting down the path.
I'm exceptionally well armed.
So naturally, with full intentions of ruining her life, we spoke with her.
A friendly face. Oh, you are a sweet, sweet blessing, my dear. You know...
Get to the point, Granny.
All business? Very well. Inside that temple is a Gith creche. The Githyanki established it in what remained after they slaughtered all of the monks. The Society of Brilliance tasked me with acquiring one of their eggs in order to settle a dispute.
An egg?
I'm asking you to retrieve an egg for me.
An egg?
You'll be well compensated, of course. Just bring me an egg.
An egg, you say? Fine, but pay me up front. And lots up front. As to which she wholeheartedly agreed.
I suppose there is a reason I'm asking you to do it. Here's the money. Now, I expect a speedy delivery.
10-piece nug 2-day delivery hadn't been invented yet, so she was just gonna have to make do with waiting a while. Meanwhile, we had plenty of time to slowly make our way down to the monastery, really take in all the sights, shoot a lot of birds. And then, like all good adventures, we broke into the monastery quietly, which seemed to have upset a mound of fleshy creatures wanting to be punted around like golf balls, so we did just that. But no sooner after we caused a ruckus, we stumbled across your usual slaver situation.
That's enough. On your feet.
Where are you taking us?
If this is about that weapon your friend was talking about, we don't have it and we don't know shit about it.
Silence! Move!
No. No, I'm not going in there.
We watched the woman run with the speed of drying paint, so she got what was coming to her. Now, it was encouraging to see people of such culture existing around these parts.
Anyone want to join her?
So we looted the running lady and soon afterwards learned that they locked the deadbolt on the other side of this big door, meaning that we had to take the long way around. Turns out this place was just a drunken lizard house.
What do you mean, too drunk? It's not possible.
I started by squishing a drunk lizard quietly, and then sneaking into the rest of the facility. Well, what started as one drunk lizard became an entire horde of them, so there was only one efficient thing I could do. And that seemed to do the trick. Now, of course, a couple lizards survived, so by using a process I call forceful natural selection, I eradicated the rest of the vermin from the facility. They didn't really put up too much of a fight, all things considered, and I even gained experience from it all. Meaning that now my Eldritch Blast could punt inferiors back a couple good feet. And so we scoured the rest of the place, looking for anything remotely useful. Killed a bunch of rats or something, I don't know, all these places got their infestation cliche, and made our way to a giant hole in the castle. Perfect for two things: throwing off victims to break their legs, and sleeping precariously on the top of. Now naturally, I consumed 72 apples to keep the doctor away while sleeping, but as I woke up I realized I think I accidentally summoned one instead.
Ah, my good fellow.
I figured this could only end well, so I willingly laid myself down on the cold stone bed for what I thought would be nothing more than a soothing massage.
My research turned up a rather brilliant technique that seems quite actionable.
Okay, so do it.
It's not too deep. Just behind the orbital socket. I could attempt an extraction. I've a needle in my tunic, after all.
Okay, so do it. Well, I wasn't expecting acupuncture, let alone in my eye socket, but I suppose these newfangled beauty places all have their thing nowadays.
Volo carefully holds one of your eyes open and begins to prod uncertainly with the needle.
The needle was large, but my ego was larger. At first it was like picking your nose, but you know, behind your eyeball, which was slightly awkward.
The needle finds the gap between eyeball and socket. Volo frowns and begins to push.
I clenched my fists in pure rage. Perfect!
Pain shoots through your body as the needle snags on your optic nerve.
I think I have it!
The needle seesaws back and forth, plucking the nerve like a harp string.
Do you hear music? I hear music.
There's some obstacle in the way. I shall need a more robust implement.
You just use your finger.
Volo carefully withdraws the needle from your eye. Then, reaching into his bag, he produces an ice pick.
Although the ice pick is what I usually use to get flesh out of my teeth, I figured, what the heck.
Volo slowly brings the ice pick closer to your eye.
Now, don't move.
All right. Now just make sure to get that bugger good, you hear?
Cold metal presses against the skin beneath your brow. And then...
Do it!
Tap, tap, stab.
Oh yeah! That's it! That's the one! Yeah!
We have the blighter on the run!
Oh yes! The pain was excruciating. I felt so alive. I felt so...
I agree. It's a feisty critter. Just...
Volo takes the pick from your brain with a violent jerk. Your eye plops down into the mud.
Yeah, I was planning on getting that one removed anyways.
Tret.
He pauses, looks down at your eye, and recoils slightly as it sinks into the mud.
And I was out like a light. It was both therapeutic and cathartic simultaneously. As I woke up, the jester still stood in front of me, helping me to regain some consciousness. And probably blood flow.
There appears to be an amount of cosmetic damage.
Huh. Interesting. But then I started to realize I could have sold that eye.
Please, try not to overexert yourself. You're in a rather fragile state at present. I can't help but feel partly responsible. Perhaps there is something more I can do.
Oh wait, is that a Karoshi?
Take this. A far superior relic to that old jelly you were chained to. Try it on for size. And, it was very nice to have met you. I'm sure you'll sort out your little brain problem one way or another.
And with that, the jester booked it off to who knows where. But hey, at least I got both a massage and a new eye. I'd consider that a pretty decent time. Well, with a slight headache, we pressed on further into the ruins of the monastery to meet up with whoever the heck runs this place. Probably some big-headed pompous freak. But as we made our way into the actual interior of the building...
Sentries to arms! Istik, state your purpose quickly.
My purpose is to dispose of anyone who proposes purposes need to be established. And now, with my new powers at disposal, I was able to make short work of these buffoons, not to mention misstep around wherever my heart desired to take me. These humanoid interlopers put up more of a fight than the mere goblin would, but at the same time, they were fragile, like a stick bug, and so we snapped them as such. Before long, we had eliminated the threat, looted all of their quite valuable assets, and moved further into the cavern to take out more of them just standing around completely oblivious to the screams of their comrades moments before. And like that, anyone who would prove to be a threat was gone. We took a gander out on the back porch, but the view sucked so bad I preferred to be inside the dank cave, which was actually quite profitable, as a merchant had stepped in place of one of the murdered guards.
Ugh, blood, rust, scar. Is there no odious substance not smeared on this delivery? I'd heard this plane was disgusting, but I didn't think it would be like this.
Yes, I too wonder how all this blood and guts and carnage got here. Well, anyways, buy their stuff from me.
Fine. But your paraphernalia had better be pristine.
And so finally I was able to rid myself of some of the garbage those Spanks were carrying. After money, I moved into the monastery, where surprisingly enough, no one judged me for the cold-blooded murder I inflicted on their friends just moments before.
An Istik allowed to soil our halls. Chicken.
And that's when I remembered. I was an invited guest. So I stumbled right into the leader's chambers.
I can explain. The latest batch of cultists knew nothing of the astral prism. They were just trying to find Moonrise. They all head there. My Gish have drafted plans to assault the tower. They are ready to fight, Chitrai.
My patience falters.
Yes, Chitrai. You heard him! Go!
Hilariously enough, none of her guards listened to her, and that meant no one would miss her.
She remains your Kithrak. For now.
Then, in a lucky moment for me, I saw her extract some kind of gem from some kind of garbage, and that gem activated a door to who knows where, but I knew I wanted in. So immediately I rushed to pry her for information.
An istik in my creche. You are one of the mercenaries sent to bring the weapon.
Don't tell her anything.
I gave her just enough to make her happy.
You are well informed. My creche discovered the same.
And then I acted dumb to put on a facade.
It is small, angular, metal, adorned with Tirsu script.
You sense Shadowheart's worry. This weapon sounds like the artifact you carry.
And finally, I deceived her to buy myself more time before assassinating her.
I have business to attend to. Return with the weapon, or do not return at all.
And everything was going according to the plan I was making up on the spot. To make absolute sure I had this place scouted out, I wandered its halls before coming across what at first I thought was a dieting contest. Turns out is their military training barracks.
Shocky! Why do you keep hesitating? My instructions were clear.
Because they don't make sense. Killing each other like this. It's stupid.
You fight again. This time, daggers only. And to the death, as instructed. Who wants to challenge this sniveling Istark?
I figured, hey, might as well get a taste of their fighting tactics if I'm gonna end up fighting them anyways.
I've been practicing every night, Savage. Let me have a go.
I refuse. There has to be a better way.
And then the pitiful fight ended as soon as it began.
You dropped your guard on your weak side and were completely open to an offhand counter. Move him out of the way. We've wasted enough time already.
Well, that was a major letdown, knowing that's the kind of fight I'm gonna get out of these half-pipe windbag stick bugs, so I looted the guy and jammed more parasites into my brain. After ditching those nerds, I came across one of those strange rooms I've ever been in. It reeked of green eggs and ham, though I couldn't figure out why.
It smells awful in here. Is Sticker permitted to view the birthing pools now?
Shut up, you racist.
These are strange times. Step carefully while here. Our hatchery is protected by lethal safeguards. I do not wish to pick your remains from them, but stay away from the egg.
Wait, egg?
There will be no second warning.
Luckily, I didn't need a first warning. I hopped my way across platforms and then walked easily around their traps to lay eyes upon the most glorious egg I had ever seen. One of those could make a meal for an entire orphanage. Well, you know, if they could build them faster than I burn them down. Like I always say, better egg than never, so I shoved an elderly man off a cliff to break every bone in his body. And for some reason that pissed off everyone else in the room, so a massive unnecessary fight broke out. I'm assuming these people didn't want me to have their one egg, but I did, so I couldn't let them live. They all began to rush us, but we had fantastic strategical positioning to keep them at bay, forcing them to have to climb up and wobble over precarious ledges only to be shoved off of them, sometimes into traps that would then teleport them into a prison cell that would slowly rot them away in the bile poison below. Within a moment, everyone was dead, and I ran aimlessly without regard for my own personal safety towards the egg.
Large green egg with an uneven shell. You can see a vague outline of something within it.
As much as I wanted to scramble it right then and there, I decided that reward is bigger than temporary satisfaction. And just like that, I had acquired their only remaining egg and ran back into the halls, pretending like I had done nothing wrong. And nobody suspected a thing.
Look, I don't have time to talk to you, Istik.
Now I found myself waltzing into some kind of nerd chamber, and I was exactly right.
What are you doing?
Touching things.
The Zaithisk is not a child's plaything. If you require its services, speak to me. Otherwise, leave.
So I decided to humor the lady and spoke with her.
Brimming with magic. Take it.
You were interested in the Zaithisk.
Is that like floppy disk?
Do you have a question? Or are you just going to stand there gawking?
I asked what that giant hunk of garbage did.
The Zaithisk is our last means of defense. It is used for the removal of illithid tadpoles. Why do you want to know?
Then I lied to get more information out of her. After all, I lost an eye the last time I did something like this.
And you expected charity from us? You are a unique specimen. You'll be aware then that your friend is on borrowed time. Bring them here, and you'll have a live demonstration of what the Zaithis can do.
Well, there was no use hiding it anymore, so it was me.
Have you brought your friend?
I was my friend all along.
Is that so? Then of course, you'll be treated first. Even Githyanki rarely experiences Zaithis. You are very lucky, Inciting.
The device is strange, made of taut flesh and pockmarked metal. It waits for something. You feel your parasite stir.
Do not fear. My experience in operating this machine is unparalleled.
Hey, this wasn't the first time I got myself into a pod situation. Figured it also wouldn't be the last time, so I jumped in without having a second thought. The massive machine came to life around me, and with that, the ride began.
You must focus on the parasite at all times. The Zaithis will do the rest.
Layers of magic weave themselves tightly around your head. The tadpole squirms and contracts. It's trying to hide.
My perception was unfathomably perceptive.
You realize the device is hunting your parasite, but it's doing so blindly. Without direction, your faculties could be permanently damaged. Your skull groans and bends under the pressure. Then, agony.
I now humored the machine and focused on my parasite, really see what this bad boy can do.
Through waves of torment, you search for the parasite's lurking presence.
That's it. Ignore the pain.
I don't feel
Think
pain.
of the tadpole. Think of it.
Shut up, I'm thinking here.
This cure looks set to kill you. Get out!
The parasite burrows deeper, sinking its teeth into your brain's exposed tissue. It sucks greedily. It's evolving.
I soon realized that this thing was only gonna make my parasite stronger. So with that in mind, I thought about it some more.
That's it. You're almost there. The Zaithis never fails.
The device yearns for the creature, for every part of you tainted by its presence. This one is ancient. Rotten.
No more.
But instead of going further, I shifted gears and began asking Papa Smurf for divine diabolic might. And it worked.
You pour yourself into the tadpole's putrid magic. Its strength multiplied. It unleashes on the machine. The two forces fuse violently together, your brain their conduit. You are being undone.
I had to quickly think about anything else. Politics. Well, that definitely felt weird, but hey, at least I still had all my ligaments.
The room swims back into focus. Your mind is intact, yet unfamiliar. Inside it, the tadpole lives on, and you feel different.
Hey, your device sucks. Literally can't even go fishy.
No! The Zaithis! What have you done?
I took it for a joyride.
My life's work gone. And yet you live. And so does your parasite.
Sure does.
The voice cuts with a fanatical edge, an obsession bordering on mania.
Your machine is garbage and your life's work was meaningless. Now quit your whining.
The Zaithis does not fail.
Well, it did.
Wait here. I will gather my tools.
Incredible. Your parasite is even stronger now.
And with that in mind, my parasite was happier.
Smoke rises like hot breath, but whatever semblance of life once powered the Zaithis is gone.
With the lady gone, we decided to quickly ransack her place, stealing every drop of anything we could find while she ran off to get her tools, which I'm sure was just a keyword for ambush. No worries, I was in no rush and wanted to just chuck stuff around for a bit of fun. Knowing they were all probably set up on the other side of the door she locked, I decided to just pick the lock real quick and get this thing started. And get started we did do, as there was an entire platoon stationed on the other side waiting for us. So I did something absolutely insane, beyond their comprehension. I closed the door. Well, with that move in play, they sent their smartest troops forward to open the door, but as they entered into our lair, we were ready for them. And then Will did something absolutely insane. He closed the door. Furious on the other side, they cast their magic blindly. But inside, we were busy wailing on this loser who decided to charge in at us. As we beat up this lady, they finally decided to counter us, closing the door by opening it. And by doing so, we immediately had the upper hand. We had created something rather ingenious, if I do say so myself. Something I like to call a choke point. And as this was created, I did the unthinkable. I closed the door again. This sent them into a spiral, and I unleashed a parasitic blast, forcing these two morons 5 feet in the air. The battle inside was getting frisky, so one of their guards did something unhinged. He opened the door. And because he did that, we killed their lead scientist on the spot and did something beyond sane. We closed the door. And then Will, on purpose, destroyed the door by summoning a flurry of blades, luckily striking a bunch of their guards eavesdropping on the other side, slicing their thin hide to bits and bites. As now their range damage was their final defense, we ended up just waiting out the storm a little bit, allowing them to feel comfortable moving forward slightly to get us into a good angle. And when they did that, I ran out of the door and detonated the entire corridor. So with that all wrapped up, our field trip to the science center had concluded. We left the area and found out we were completely discreet.
Why is there blood here?
But before confronting the lady that no one respects and showing her our respects, I had one final wing to visit. The younglings. As I prepared myself for whatever would come next, I realized there was only one appropriate way to approach this fragile of a situation, and by fragile I did mean the breaking of their bones. I put a crown of madness upon their drill sergeant's head, turning him into a raging lunatic. Ironically, the perfect disguise. He immediately blasted his top student twice with deadly accuracy, killing her on the spot, and then he warped away to cover. No one rose a blade in our direction. However, I couldn't let the students just have an easy victory. What made the fight sweeter was that even after burning 2 of them alive, they still didn't notice we were behind all of this. And moment by moment, we eviscerated each and every one of them with tactics they could have never been taught to defend themselves from. No matter how far they could run, this wasn't about learning a lesson anymore. It was about learning their place under my boot. And just like that, the crown of madness was lifted, and the teacher walked back to his position as if nothing had just transpired.
Strike hard! Slice flesh! No hesitation!
Oh, trust me, you didn't. With that, we headed out of the barracks and towards the captain's chambers again, knowing her threat of coming back empty-handed still applied.
I presume you are not stupid enough to return empty-handed. So, give me the weapon.
Well, the only weapon I had was the one in my hand, so I had no choice but to kill her.
I'll gladly see you try. Attack her!
And there we went killing again. I started by torching her dogs in a fleece of fire and blood, igniting the room like it was a matchbox. So before she could react, I blasted her back into her fireplace, and then I shoved her into it too. The captain's stewardess took great offense to our offensive, so she rendered Will useless. So pretty much had no effect. However, Lady Commander here decided to magic me in the face, not realizing I know every counter spell in the book, killing her instantly. Which, I guess makes it not murder? Anyways, after the commander was gone, all we had to deal with were these few final weasels, which we make short work of considering the fact that none of these people knew how to fight against a group of unhinged mages. And with that, I snatched the weird gem off the lady to barge into wherever that room would lead us. So I jammed that gem into the door slot.
Who will be? Oh, it is you. Make haste. We have business to conduct.
Well, after the door told me that we had business, I assumed someone was down these corridors ready for Judgment Day. And lo and behold, I was exactly right.
I need a quick word.
Ah, our esteemed... Interesting. I'm pleased to finally meet you. I heard enough druids died by your hands to make the deity Sylvanus himself weep.
Oh,
To
you
business.
flatter me.
I suspect you plucked something precious from the Geik ship. Something that belongs to us. The weapon. Give it to me.
Hands off, you bald-headed snot-nosed simpleton.
The Geik are about to execute their grand design and you seek to bargain. Pahakva. But I will humor your greed for a moment. What would you ask of an Inquisitor?
Basically, I demanded of him treasure of immense power so as to destroy them all with.
You would lay claim to our hard-won treasures. You seek power, but do not seek to strive for it. A fool's request, denied. Give me the weapon, now.
Well, he refused my offer of immense power, so I would just conduct it myself. Although we were heavily surrounded in this fight, and the enemies were apparently highly trained versions of those younglings we eradicated, I realized that the only thing keeping us going was the fact that Egyptians invented marshmallows through the extraction of sap from a mallow plant and mixing it with nuts and honey. This idea was then reborn in the 1800s in France when candy makers repeated the sap process but with egg whites and sugar. So anyways, everyone was lying in a pool of blood on the ground, but amidst this carnage, something called out to me.
Inquisitor Wargaz was potent. We are impressed.
It was a giant woman.
Not exactly a god, but not far off.
You are permitted to look upon me. You are invited to kneel.
Kneel? How primitive and submissive, especially coming from a not god.
You bear that which is ours. But are you friend, or are you thief?
It's mine, you swamp-haired demigod wannabe.
By the nine hells. She's not going to like that.
To own something is to know it. You know nothing of what you carry. There is someone inside. Their mind is warped, broken, of blunt. They are an agent of the grand design, sent to sabotage the astral prism. Our last defense against the return of the Illithid Empire. As long as they live, the prism is compromised. Find the one inside and kill them. Be aware. They are not alone, and they will appeal to your trust. They are not to be believed. You must accept. Refuse, and know my fury.
Although her fury was probably the equivalent of demanding the manager at a Dollar Tree, I decided to peek into her mind, just for kicks.
Behind the veil of the God Queen's outer thoughts, death, fear, paranoia. She fears the one inside the artifact more than anything in the world. But she's hiding something. The veil snaps back. Vlaakith's mind shut out to you forever.
Well, I was bored of her anyway, so I just demanded more goods.
Is that so? Use this to enter the prism or deny me. The choice is yours. But know this. My wrath is carried with each of my faithful. It will find you.
That's big talk coming from Walmart brand dice. Regardless, I now wanted the dice, so I figured I'd just touch it.
Heat pulses out of the astral prism as it begins to flower.
Well, like everything I touch, it started to combust into flames.
Your mind burns hot with excitement.
My mind's excitement was no match for its will to victimize this planet, and now that I had made it to some sort of astral plane of existence, I had the upper hand.
The concentration of psionic force is small but unmistakable. This must be a pocket of the astral plane.
I explored for about 5 milliseconds, then realized this place is boring, so I decided to enter the Stargate.
So you came, in spite of all my warnings. Disappointing. Come. We will talk in private. Just the two of us.
I may have made a mistake trusting you. I told you to stay away from the Githyanki. But you just couldn't help yourself. Could you?
You're not my father, Papa Smurf.
You are a worthy ally.
That's more like it. However, you stopped me from my worm extraction.
You misunderstand. The Zaith'isk was going to kill you. I couldn't let that happen.
So I tried to probe his mind, but even though I succeeded, I failed.
That was uncalled for. Though a spell well cast.
That made me feel sad.
I suppose I can't blame you. You are threatened by the tadpole, and you think I prevented you from being cured. And now that you know the truth, what will you do?
Well, at first I thought, Smurf blood. But then he bent a knee to me, submitting to my power. I decided this was not his time to die. No, there was still more juice and pulp to be squeezed from his trusting faith.
It seems I was right to put my faith in you after all. Vlaakith will be furious. She fears nothing more than the loss of her empire.
However, I told him my true intentions.
And yet you did not. I can only assume there was something you felt was worth saving.
And with that, we left this hillbilly backwater town and headed back to Elfland. Well, now that we had eliminated most of the Get Spanked clan and looted their attic, it was time to search the basement.
But its rusty mechanism jams stuck.
And there were puzzles, meaning one thing. We shoot stuff until things move. And just like that, we found ourselves in some ancient crypt storage room, in front of some sort of golden encased mace. I tried jamming coins into its slot, but it turned out to not be a vending machine. So I just did what I normally do.
Ornate mace hovers before you, suspended in a shaft of brilliant light. A fist-sized piece of amber flecked with crimson is set in the handle, emitting a radiance all its own. This mace must be the legendary blood of Lathander. The amber is said to contain the blood of the Morning Lord himself.
I don't care who that is, but this will be the blood of Nug now.
The glow around the mace sparkles with beautiful disaster. You feel your patron's presence nearby. It hums with an unfamiliar anxiety. Taking such a holy weapon would be diabolical indeed, but the consequences... disastrous.
Intrusive mind, you say that like it doesn't make it all the better. The mace snapped free with a... I could feel its power radiating in my hands, not wanting to be used. But alas, the storage room itself came to life, angry, clearly, that I had taken its heart. I was trapped in a cage, and outside, some massive mechanical structure began to take position.
Everything is in motion. All within these walls are doomed to destruction unless you act.
Get me out of this thing. The whole building collapses.
Get you out. Someone else needs to get us out of here.
My greedy companions only thought of themselves, so I knew I needed to think about myself. So naturally, I simply misstepped out of the cage. They didn't really think that one through. And with that, I made haste out of the room, out into the open roof of the monastery. So not the basement. My map indicated, conveniently enough, a safe zone, meaning whoever wrote this map wrote it in with the expectation that eventually someone would touch the bloody mace. And while I ran, I had my companions hold down the fort, trying to plug the thing up with a towel or something. As for me, I was using every move-enhancing ability to dart out of that area as quickly as possible, like a wild arsonist gazelle after lighting a family home on fire.
Time to get down from here.
All the while, Petty Princess wandered the chamber, meaninglessly, praying for a painless, inevitable death. As for me, I finally leapt from the rooftop, just as the device hit 100% charged battery. My companions were crushed under the rubble, and the entire fortress detonated in a beam of holy light. Everything, nay, everyone inside was now either eviscerated, squished, or no doubt burning to death. But as for me, I revived my overly dramatic companion so we could continue our journey. As we wandered away from the Was Monastery, I remembered I held the last remaining spank egg, so I brought it to that old hag.
Shame that monastery had to go up like that. Taking my impeccable reputation for success with it.
And after hauling that egg for 4 days...
Using every scrap of your concentration, you kick the egg just hard enough that it doesn't crack, but soars like a red dragon.
You brute! What have you done? You will pay for this.
Funny thing is, she already paid me for this. So I did the only thing natural. As with the egg, I punted her off the cliffside. Well, with that, we finally felt powerful enough to brave the mines of the Mushroom Kingdom below, wandering its vast halls of rock and, well, mushrooms. After looking around, we stumbled upon some sort of sunken village, including an underground specimen.
What? Gek! Got someone sneaking up on us.
Instead of violence, I decided to hear them out, give them a chance to beg for mercy.
Too loud, sun scum. Heard you stumbling. Can hear you blinking. Noise gets you eaten down here. Reckon I'll hush you before something hungry comes along.
Well, I'm hungry and I've come along.
You're a liability, hookbait. I'll decide how many steps and breaths you've got left.
I then attempted to convince him that I'm a rabid, dirty dog, and it worked.
A purebred dog of war from that snarl. You can walk, but spoil my hunt, and you're dead.
But even after all that, I decided to just leave.
Fine. Suppose I'll just eat you then.
Fine by me. I guess it's gonna be an all-you-can-eat buffet down here. And with that, I immediately blasted his second-in-command into the dark abyss. He raised an undead dwarven army from the ashes of the battlefield. Lucky me, I get to kill what I actually didn't. And bit by bit, we punted the dwarves off ledges, bashed their brains in, and allowed them to climb up to our level just to rend their flesh with knives. Their leader, that ravenous dog, I punted down into the dark nothingness, ending his putrid existence, alongside some other worthless guys. And we finished up the rest of them with a gentle tap of a napkin to our mouths. We then found out that they were storing barges here.
Better not be cursed.
Vessel wobbles on the lake's murky waters.
Well, there was nothing better to do, so we hopped aboard and began to set sail into the pure dark nothing. But as we joyrided this boat into the open cave waters, we were approached by a band of misfits who hadn't heard the news of their clanmates.
Human, what are you doing on Gek's raft?
The bearded one jumped aboard our ship, an act of pure adulterated piracy.
Where's Gek? Who are you?
You know, it'd been a long day. I was tired, so I just ended up shoving him into the murky dark waters below, and the rest of his crew was next. The cave waters were hungry. I started by blasting one of them right in after him, and without hesitation, my companions joined into the fun of it. It was like a target range, none of them really capable of much more than a pathetic and pitiful display of mediocre combat training. We enjoyed throwing and pushing them from the ships into the darkness below, knowing that in these black waters, the echo chamber of a cavern, no one would ever find them. A life shortened to mere hours before exhaustion take them into the depths below. However, Petty Princess did get pushed off the ship, so that was super embarrassing. Regardless, we pushed the final dwarf from the ship, proceeded to bring back Princess, and headed deeper into the darkness.
Craft is ready to sail.
Not knowing how much longer this dump of a boat would last, we finally made it to land where we would for sure be safe. The fact that there were massive ruins implied someone could be down here, confirmed by the opening of a gate. Funny enough, they let us in, but we'll be the only ones to ever leave.
Weapon at ready, lass. Company's calling.
I have arrived!
What do we got here? Dead hoon walking, seems like.
Of course, I immediately demanded their submission.
That's so.
You feel the slightest of stirrings in your head. The Duergar is not infected, yet your minds resonate.
I'll be... Felt the tingle. In that case, let's talk business. You absolute shaggers owe us a crapload of coin. You want through? Make a donation.
Fine, I'll donate your head to the ground.
Unclog your hole.
They keep gnomes as slaves. Not for much longer, if the blade has a say.
Well, you don't, so shut up. We began to wander their halls, adorned in the finest of minerals, but regardless, it was time for a nap.
A faint voice echoes in your mind.
I sense you, true soul. Come to me. Come too near. The poison spread.
Nero will die if we leave. Is that a chance you want to take?
Nir's voice fades. but your head still tingles with his anger and fear.
Hey, my favorite two emotions to instill. With the telepathic dying breath of someone fresh in my mind, I horked down like 17 pies and went to sleep. After a good night's rest listening to slaves chip away at the mines, I approached what I assumed to be a cave-in.
Bugger off! You're distracting the slaves! They run, you're dead!
And I was absolutely right.
Faster! Heat up some rocks!
I once again reminded them who I was.
The parasite stirs, but it's a mere tickle.
A true soul, eh? Useless wreck of a lookout could have told me. Tunnels collapsed. Trapped true soul near. He's stuck in there with poisoned geezers. We don't get him out soon, it's both our heads.
So I suggested explosions. With that, I chucked a bomb at the rocks, freeing everyone inside.
Baldur, can you hear me? Baldur!
Some elf guy was trapped in there, but he seemed pretty level-headed.
Finally.
I'll admit, that was impressive for an amateur. However, that left the problem of other alive people here.
As you say. Gilles Lunin.
So with that, 2 birds, 1 stone. I satisfied Will's wishes of the slaves going free, and that's because they were now all dead.
Thrin, the Absolute gave you everything. And this fiasco is how you reward her?
Me and mine worked flat out. I was cracking the whip day and night. Tell him, true soul.
Tell him what? That you were a lazy, shriveling fool?
No, I did everything right.
Near pities you, Thrin. Your errors and excuses. And your sorry end.
This was perfect. I was able to use this near fella to kill people without having to break a sweat myself. Almost like he was nothing more to me but a tool.
Hell's...
Your skull buzzes, and you see your own face through Nir's eyes.
Worthless, every last one. Their failures must be punished.
And with that in mind, we would slaughter the rest of them.
Show them no mercy.
And that I would do, starting with igniting their sorry hides where they thought they were free from the heat below. Their embarrassing display of attack only heightened my rage of fire upon them, and no matter how far they could run, their pointless attacks, or their ability to hide in the worst places imaginable, we found them. Each and every one. And beautifully, Princess pushed one of them into the lava.
This was meant to be a simple operation. I arrive, those pack animals clear the debris, and I walk into the temple.
Now, how this concerned me, I wasn't sure.
I need you to deliver a message to him. Tell the general that I did what I could, but that the route through Grimforge is impassable.
I told him he could report his own failures.
This is not a failure. It's only a setback. I have been entrusted with a sacred mission. I cannot fail. The general resides at Moonrise Towers, but you cannot simply travel there. The land surrounding the towers is blighted by a deadly curse.
Well, if he survived, I'd do just fine, easily. And these Moonrise Towers, they seem like a viable source of both people and power, playthings to me. And so we left this dump of a mine further back into the Mushroom Kingdom, until we came across some kind of voice in the darkness.
More are coming.
What?
That voice. What was that?
I decided to ignore the voice.
They are coming. You are coming.
Instead, I followed the sound of it directly to the source.
You were swallowed by a chorus of turbulent music. Through one creature sing many voices. The harmony of an entire collective.
Sovereign, she has come. She is here.
The choir fades. A single melody rises above the others, brassy and commanding.
I am sovereign.
You see a vision. Your lifeless body wrapped in fungal tendrils. The Sovereign is threatening you.
State your
Threatening me? To my face? That's it. I don't care what these things are, they die.
Cure the rot. End it.
However, what these things failed to realize is that they were made of squish and I had fire. Well, the fight was near over before it even began, yet only a few moments later, more of the mushroom things joined in, obviously willing and ready to die. I'll be honest, there wasn't much more to this fight than the fact that did you know yellow jackets are a much more aggressive insect than wasps or hornets, can both sting and bite unprovoked, yet do not lose their stinger. Well anyway, some guy in a robe decided to come after us and jump on a mushroom, so we beat the living tar out of him too, assuming that he was there for the mushroom people's sake. We ended up stealing everything from him as he clearly did not deserve the possessions he had, and eventually came across some kind of merchant.
Seems the shrooms are letting in more people every day.
Sure, you could put it like that.
You see a fella on his own on your way in. Dwarf. Balin's his name.
Well, I hadn't seen this dwarf, but I now had a name and the chance to deceive this woman.
Where? Ah, never mind. Idiot's probably wandered someplace else since.
Finally, once again, after all these days, I was able to sell an insane amount of garbage to this lady. Stuff that she would never be able to sell herself, nor have anyone alive down here to sell to. Quite pathetic, really. As I conducted business, these weird mushroom freaks then came after us for no reason other than the fact that we wiped out the rest of their friends and family. And here we found the big mushroom king, the mushroom above all other mushrooms. Wondering what kind of trip his flesh could send me on, we quickly annihilated them without a second thought. Meaning that we had just sent an entire race of underground dwellers into extinction.
Not everyone subscribes to what is mine is
However,
yours,
not
it
everyone agreed with our action, meaning that we needed to find this dwarf guy for her, and that is exactly what we set out to do. And when we finally found him, we hatched an ingenious plan to get him out.
Dead. Worthless old fool. He had one bleeding job.
Unfortunately, to me, so did you. So we killed the now useless merchant and her cows, not leaving anything to waste. We looted up all of her things and made way back to the surface. We now headed towards these moonrise towers that we had just heard about. And we knew we were on the right path when we had to fight a bunch of demons along the road just to get near the trail towards them. But as we slaughtered and wandered, we came across a valley where even the sun began to hide. Therefore, we took advantage of that and took a nap. And with all these events behind me, the shadow-cursed lands before me, we made our way down deeper into the darkest forest we had ever seen.